a cacophony of sound at the Lake Superior Railroad Museum, the Leonard Draper Maintenance Building out behind the St. Louis County Depot here in downtown Duluth. It's a Wednesday, and that means it's Volunteer Day. These are when volunteers from all over Minnesota and Wisconsin come to work on restoring some of the pieces in the collection. We thought it'd be a good day to show you all the commotion that goes on, and at the same time, show you inside one of the cars that we missed on our earlier 131 of these behind-the-scenes video tours. And it actually is one of my favorite cars in the museum. I like this car. It's the W24, and I'm going to show it to you right now. This car is actually a combination car. It's half coach, half sleeper, half baggage car. We'll explain all that later, but it's got three things in this part of the baggage area that are making this car so unique and special, and also a little confusing. For instance, for one car, this is an awfully big freezer. Point number one. Gotta wonder what that rack up there was all about, too. And then the real strange thing is right over here on the wall. This roll of wrapping paper. Wonder what that's all about. Well, I'll explain. But first, let me tell you a little bit about this car. The car was built in 1912 by the American Car and Foundry Company, a manufacturer of railway equipment located just outside of St. Louis. It has quite a storied history in itself. It goes back to 1899 when it combined 13 different small car manufacturing companies into the American Car and Foundry Company. So in 1912, the Duluth and Iron Range Railway, located in northern Minnesota, wanted some new coaches. This is one of them that they bought, the coach number 24. And it came to them in 1912 as a 79-seat configuration. And of course, you can tell that all with the windows along the side. But the car has gone through many changes over its lifetime. You can see the windows from the coach are still here, but there's also that big baggage car door. Well, that's because there were some changes made to the car. In 1939, it became a combination, still half coach for 40 seats, and also could carry baggage as well in this area. And then in 1847, it was changed again. And that added the roomettes that we're looking at right now. These roomettes are made with Pullman parts. So they kind of used Pullman equipment, even though the shop in Proctor did all the work of converting this car. It wasn't sent anywhere to be done. The Proctor shops of the Duluth, by now, Mesabi and Iron Range Railway, did all the work, reconfiguring this from first a coach to a combination coach baggage car to now a baggage sleeper car with bathrooms, a dining area, and 3 compartments that could sleep up to 6 people. You can still sit about 24 people in all in the coach, but that's really not what it was used for back in the 1940s when it got this configuration. It was a companion car to the Car Northland, which was their private car on the railroad. And if you look at the end of this video, we'll show you a link to our show exclusively on the Car Northland. This, now called the W24. Remember, it was a coach, but now it's a work car, so they put the W in front of the 24. It becomes W24 and a companion car to the Car Northland, which meant you could go on the trips with the executives of the company who were traveling on the Car Northland. You just weren't good enough to ride with them. This was kind of where the help slept. That brings us back into the baggage area and why this car was made the way it was in the late 1940s. And that was because the executives with U.S. Steel, they owned the Duluth, Mesabi, and Iron Range Railway at this point, they liked to come to northern Minnesota and go deer hunting. And that explains all these extra things that you see here. So the executives would use the Car Northland, but they also needed this car for those that were coming along with them. The harvested deer would come in through the baggage door. They'd hang up here, and a butcher would literally process the meat while the car was moving. That's why you needed wrapping paper, of course, and you needed to freeze that so it could make it all the way back to Pittsburgh once the hunting expedition was over. And like all hunting trips, they might not have been hunting all the time, if you get my drift. This is my favorite car on the railroad. I love it. I like the open door here. I like the fact that there are roomettes. It's got bathrooms. We use it all the time on the North Shore Scenic Railroad as a companion car to the Car Northland, and we'll just run it on its own too because it's such a wonderful car. You know, it did star in a movie in Iron Will. Kevin Spacey was in this car, along with all the other actors that were the newspaper reporters that were covering this great dog sled race put on by Louis Hill of the Great Northern Railway that the movie depicts. As I said, it's Wednesday at the shop building for the Lake Superior Railroad Museum, and that means we're working on this car. That's why it's here. It's getting some upholstery work done. We're fixing some of the laminate. We're going to do some of the painting and touch-up work. But what's really exciting is in this hallway. This used to be covered with steel. And what we did was we took the steel off and look at the beautiful wood that we found underneath. So this will all be restained. It'll all be sanded down and stained, and it'll look great. I think this is a wonderful car, and it's a lot of fun to ride in. And Wednesdays, of course, are our volunteer day. So if you're watching this within, 100 miles of Duluth, Minnesota, and you'd like to be a part of the fun of restoring railroad equipment, I think you really ought to think about coming down on Wednesdays. No experience necessary, and you get free donuts. In the meantime, make sure you watch all of our great shows that we do behind-the-scenes tours. You can see them all by going to duluthtrains.com/video tours, and they're all there lined up for you. And we're going to release more of these in the coming weeks. So make sure you like them, make sure you subscribe, and always make sure you take care of each other.